Hello, friends. Can training end up competing with your family? And if it does, how do you fix that? Honestly, I wish this was the biggest problem most people had. Because in real life, the bigger problem is usually the opposite. Most people do not train at all. Let's talk about it. What's up, my friends? Question of the day: how do you stop training from competing with your family? Welcome, I'm Fred. Here we talk about business, investment, training, and real life, all from my personal perspective. And this is an interesting question because when someone asks, how do I balance training and family? It sounds like training is the enemy, like it's stealing time from the people you love. But in my experience, the real problem is not that people train too much. The real problem is that most people train too little. And because do not train, they do not have energy, patience, they do not have the mood stability, and they do not have the vitality for their family. So many times, training is not the thing hurting family life. It is actually the thing that could be saving it. Now, speaking personally, I have never really had this problem. And let me explain what my routine looks like so you will understand the context. I train every single day, from Sunday to Sunday. Most days, I train around 1 hour and 50 minutes, sometimes 2 hours, usually divided into two sessions. And even with that amount of training, I never felt like it harmed my family time. I always had time to be present, to be involved, to live normal family life. So when people talk about training competing with family, I honestly do not relate much. Maybe this happens more in very specific sports. For example, endurance sports, maybe a triathlete who needs to spend 4 or 5 hours on a bike, or someone training seriously for marathons, or maybe ultra marathons. Those cases exist. But even then, most marathon runners do not train 3 or 4 hours every day. Usually, they have one long run on the weekend and normal workouts during the week. So, even there, it is not as extreme as people imagine. To be honest, I think this problem affects a very small minority, a very small group of people, because, again, the real epidemic is not people training too much, it is people not training at all. Training is hard, it is tiring, uncomfortable. Your body naturally wants the couch, it wants junk food, laziness. So, most people are fighting the battle of starting to train, not the battle of training too much. Sometimes I joke about this. I wish the world's biggest problem was that everyone is training 4 hours a day and has no time left. That would be a great problem to have. Because think, it would mean people are healthy, disciplined, and energetic. But that is not reality. Now, I'm not saying this issue never exists. There are situations where it can become real. For example, competitive athletes, the guy who plays football tournaments every weekend, the runner who travels to races all the times, the triathlete who is constantly preparing for the next event. Those lifestyles can definitely start affecting family balance, or even in martial arts, my sport. When you are actively competing, there are periods where training becomes very intense. But even then, it usually comes in cycles. You prepare for a fight, you compete, then you recover. It is not every weekend forever. So, again, it is very specific. For most normal people, The problem is not time, it is organization and mindset. Becomes here is a big truth. Training does not need to exclude family. You can actually combine both. Let me give you a practical example from my own life. I do running and cycling as part of my routine, and I alternate them during the week. Recently, my youngest daughter started coming with me on some weekend sessions. Of course, she's too young to run long distances. She's 11 years old. So, what do? I simply change the plan. Instead of running, I walk with her. I sacrifice one training session to spend quality time together. And you know what? That walk with her is worth more than any workout. Another example, both of my daughters train at the same gym where I train. While I'm doing my workout, they are in their own classes. I can see them training. They can see me training. We are together doing something healthy at the same time. That creates a sense of family, of example, of shared values. That is not training competing with family. That is training strengthening family. And this brings me to something deeper. When you have kids, time moves insanely fast. My daughters are now 11 and 13, and honestly, it feels like they were born yesterday. I still remember changing diapers, carrying them around, taking them to playgrounds. At the same at the time, some of those things felt exhausting. You think, man, I am tired of diapers. I'm tired of taking them to play all the time. I just want some peace. And in those moments, it feels like it will last forever. But it does not. One day you change the last diaper and you do not even realize it. One day they stop asking to go to the playground and suddenly you miss it. Phases end and they never come back. And that is why this question is important. Because if you let training completely replace family time, you might win some fitness points, but you will lose something much more valuable. So, what is the real answer here? Balance, common sense, maturity. Training is important, but it cannot become an obsession that disconnects you from the people you love. If you need to skip a session to be present, skip it. If you can adapt training to include your kids, do it. If you can be an example for instead of disappearing to the gym for hours, even better. Family phases are temporary. Your kids will not be 11 and 13 forever. And no workout in the world is more important than that. So, can training compete with family? Yes, it can, if you let it. But it does not have to. For most people, training actually improves family life. It gives you energy, discipline, patience, and confidence. And those things make you a better father or mother and a better partner. So instead of asking, how do I stop training from competing with family? Maybe the better question is, how can I use training to build a stronger family life? That is the mindset. All right, my friends, I want to hear from you now. Have you ever felt like training was taking time away from your family? Or do you feel the opposite, that training actually helps your relationships? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I see you in the next video.